Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, I am the CHALL and welcome to a very special video. Now, I'm recording this with about 4 hours to go until the first game in the first of the finals kicks off. Now, we've got Miami Heat, we've got Boston Celtics that are kicking off this evening. We've also got the Dallas Mavericks and the Golden State Warriors in the Western Conference Final. Now, I'm going to be giving my predictions as to who I think is going to win both finals, who I think is going to go on and win the NBA Championship. Now, before we get started, make sure you do like, comment, subscribe, click the notification bell so you never miss a YouTube video, and for now, let's get into this one. So we're going to kick off with the Heat versus the Celtics. Now, the Heat went 53-29, which has been their best regular season record since 2013-2014, when LeBron James was on the Miami Heat team and they lost to San Antonio in the NBA Finals. This season provided their 7th highest win total in franchise history. The Heat have Jimmy Butler as one of their star men, a versatile 6-time all-star player. Now, just to put a bit of statistical approach into perspective with Jimmy Butler, he averaged 21.4 points, 5.9 rebounds and 5.5 assists per game during the regular season. And in the postseason, Butler's been dominant, averaging 28.7 points, 7.6 rebounds and 5.4 assists in just 10 games. That is amazing from Jimmy Butler. Now, the Miami Heat, for me, have also got some other amazing players. Herro is a good young player. I think he's got great potential. I think that he's one that I think could be the long-term driving the Heat forward. Just all the players just seem to be really stepping up their game. Victor Oladipo sort of came into the game late in the playoffs and sort of became a bit more of a playmaker sort of as he's recovered. Bam Adebayo, just a year ago or just in the recent few years, he had one of the biggest blocks in NBA history. And that's not even sugarcoating it. Bam Adebayo is so crucial to that Miami Heat switching defense. Like, he can put it in on the attack, but he can defend for his life when they're switching the play. Bam Adebayo, for me, is a great centre. And like I said in past video, for me, if he had a full season, he would be arguably the defensive player of the season for me. Now, you've also got your other players, PG Tucker, Gabe Vincent. You've got Dedmon, who can make some kind of impact off the bench as well. Max Strus, for me, a really good improving younger player that could really get in there and make an impact. Like I said, the Heat have overall got a very physical team, and switching the play has been very, very easy for the Miami Heat, and I think that overall they're just a really, really lovely team to watch. But they've got some stiff competition, and that is in the Boston Celtics. On January the 28th, the Celtics were 25-25. Since then, including the playoffs, they've lost one. Well, actually, no, not one, not two, not three, but not four, not five, but 9 times only. 9 times. They've ended the regular season with 51 wins, which marks an absolutely amazing turnaround for Boston. Now, the Celtics, one of their biggest stars for me is Jason Tatum, and I've got to point this guy out. At 24 years old, blossoming into one of the most complete players in the NBA today. I say that for a fact. He's shown he is crucial in big moment plays, big moment dunks, big moment three-pointers, big moment atmospheres. Jason Tatum delivers in the big moments, like the 46-point performance against the Bucks, or a 50-point showing in the first round playoff against the Nets last year. Now, during the regular season, all career highs, by the way, he averaged 26.9 points, 8 rebounds and 4.4 assists per game. Now, in terms of comparing both teams, let's just look historically first. The last NBA final for the Miami Heat was 2020. For the Celtics, it was 2010. The last title for the Celtics was 2008 compared to the Heat's 2013. So both have had long waits, but Celtic have had the longer wait. Like I said, this is the Celtics' first final in 12 years. The Heat have only had to wait, about a year or so for their next final. The Celtics have had to wait more than 10 years for this moment. 10 years. And like I say, in terms of titles, we're looking at a first champion here in either 9 years, or we're looking at a first champion here in about 13, 14 years. So we're looking here at our first sort of champion in either a long period of time or a long period of time. Now, in terms of the difference between the two teams, I think, in my opinion, I think they're quite similar. Employing the efficiency, they're active, they switch the defences. They have their offensive droughts every now and then. Let's be perfectly honest here with the Heat and the Celtics. They have their offensive droughts. But I think both teams will be having a very nice breathe of a sigh of relief because they don't have to deal with the physicality of either Antetokounmpo or Embiid, depending which playoff game you got. But in my own analysis, I think that the Heat are a very physical team. The Boston Celtics are the best defensive team in the NBA. And that's no sugarcoating it. That's a fact. The Celtics are one of the best defensive, if not the best defensive team in the league. I think that overall, you're putting a physical team here with one of the best defensive teams in the NBA. We're looking here at a very interesting scenario. Now, in terms of injury news going into this first game tonight, starting centre Robert Williams III for the Celtics, a big boost after missing most of the postseason because of a knee injury. I think his athleticism and his skills at shot blocking would be a great sort of power play towards Bam Adebayo. I feel like the Celtics were buoyed by spurts of offense from Grant Williams, Al Horford and Peyton Pritchard especially against the Bucks. But for the Heat, the third-year forward Max Strus has been a very strong scorer, and I'm sure Miami will be very welcome to see Max Strus come back. Now, of course, Marcus Smart will be struggling and is questionable for Game 1 because of a foot sprain, but Kyle Lowry for the Heat is unlikely to play because of his hamstring injury, but to be fair, he has missed most of the playoffs. Now, Miami is more slower and methodical in the offense. Boston rely more on three-pointers, and I think that's why Marcus Smart possibly missing from this game will be a huge blow for Boston, because Marcus Smart is amazing with three-pointers. So I feel like Marcus Smart will be a huge blow because we know what he can do from a three-point range. We know the kind of shots he can produce. We know the passage of play that Boston can produce to put Marcus Smart through for a three-pointer. We know the kind of plays that they're going to make here. We know the kind of plays they're going to try and do. They're going to have to try and find more new ways of putting the basketball in the hoop, as well as just three-point range. They've got to go with the two-pointers, they've got to go with the slammer jammer mamas, they've also got to go with the three-pointers, but also find a different way of doing the three-pointers without following through Marcus Smart, because he is unlikely to be their focus of target for three-pointers. You have to find a new target for three-pointers, or share the three-point focus around the rest of the team. So for me, Boston have got to really switch on now and really think about this smartly. Miami is a slower team, they're more methodical, but they still have that switching defense like they do like Boston. They can struggle on the offensive sometimes, but when they get it going, they get it going. You've got Jimmy Butler going on an all high. You've got Max Strus scoring for fun. You've got other players in there. Dedmon can shoot it in. Bam Adebayo can bam it in the dunk. Miami Heat have got so much potential on the offensive if Boston don't fix up their defensive. But let's be honest here, we're looking at one of the best defenses in the NBA versus a very physical Miami Heat that are really one of the teams to watch in these playoffs. So it's going to be very hard to judge this game on game. I'm not going to predict it game on game. I'm going to predict it overall as to who I think is going to win the series. So for this particular game, I'm going to go for the Boston Celtics. The reason why I'm going for it is because they're just one of the best defensive teams in the NBA. Statistically, they're one of the best defensive. So I think that will play Boston well. I think they could struggle in game one a lot more than other games, but I think it could be a close one. I think Boston could just take it to game 7 and snatch it 4-3. So that for me is one final decided in my predictions, the Boston Celtics. Let's move on to the other final, the Dallas Mavericks and the Golden State Warriors. Now, Dallas Mavericks punished the Suns in that last game. But the Warriors can punish Dallas a lot more than the Suns couldn't do. Now, several Mavericks are shooting far above their head in the playoffs. If Max Kleber continues to make 40% of his threes, you know, I think Golden State's comfort switching will force the Mavericks to seek alternatives in the offense. I think that Dallas will need to find more ways to creatively make product in the offensive, because I think Golden State will make their lives a lot less comfortable. And I think the biggest concern for Golden State going into this game is slowing down the Dallas star man, Luka Doncic. For me, one of the stars of the NBA. What do Golden State need to do to get that man silent, keep him quiet, keep him under wraps, and keep their offensive going and find those new creative ways to go on the offensive? Now, of course, statistically, for the Mavericks, their last NBA final and title at the same time was 2011. They have gone 11 years without being in an NBA final or an NBA title winner. So, obviously, this is their conference final. They get through this. They're at their first NBA final since 2011 and could potentially be on to win their first title since 2011 as well, which historically would be great for Dallas to get to that stage. Now, of course, the Warriors' last NBA final was only a couple of years ago, back in 2019, and their last title was the year before that in 2018. Of course, we knew that. There was a good couple of years, good 2, maybe 3 years, where the Cavaliers and the Warriors sort of traded back and forth a little bit. You know, this was around the time when Ben Simmons was being drafted into the NBA as #1 pick, and you sort of, you know, that it was sort of around that time, the 2016 sort of time, sort of 2015 to 2017. It was sort of Golden State and Cleveland sort of back and forth a little bit. But the Golden State now, you know, 2 years without a final or a title, they need to sort of win back that advantage going into the games. Now, going small has been an advantage for Dallas in these playoffs, but it won't be against Golden State, which has an extremely effective small ball lineup. I think their small ball lineup is incredible. You just got to think, you just got to sit, wonder, and admire the players they've got at the Golden State and the players that they're going to be starting in these games. Look at the players they've got with Golden State. They've got Klay Thompson. They've got Jordan Poole, who is a very impressive youngster. Andrew Wiggins, who's experienced in the NBA. I mean, we can't ignore Steph Curry. We cannot ignore Steph Curry. He, even at 34, he is still, in my personal opinion, still an absolute baller. For me, an absolute baller. Can't ignore Steph Curry, in my opinion. So, Golden State, for me, I think would be a very interesting proposition going into these playoff finals, these conference finals. Now, for Dallas Mavericks, obviously their main man is, you know, Luka Doncic. But you've got to look at the rest of the squad that they've got and the rest of the players, the pool of players they've got to work with. Reggie Bullock, Spencer Dinwiddie, Boban Marjanovic, Jalen Brunson, Dwight Powell, of course Maxi Kleber getting 48% of his threes. Hopefully he keeps improving on that. Marquise Chris, who I believe was part of the 2016 draft. So a bit of history for you there, after I mentioned the 2016 draft earlier. But no, I think Dallas really need to just switch it on. Just switch it on and think of new creative ways on the offensive to sort of slow down the Golden State press, because the Golden State will be all over Dallas. They'll be really all over him, trying to slow down Doncic, trying to slow down the rest of the squad. Because if you slow down Doncic, you slow down the rest of the squad. So for me, Golden States need to close down the gaps, keep those guys quiet, and they might have a more comfortable evening. But this is what I mean with Dallas. From a Dallas perspective, the Suns, cutting down the Suns and offensively breaking down the Phoenix Suns, especially in that last game, was easy work. Absolutely easy work. Against Golden State, across 7 games, it's going to be more. So my predictions going into this one then Like I said, Dallas are going to think of more offensive, creatively offensive ways. You know, keep Luka Doncic on the court as much as possible. Keep him, you know, hype and active and scoring 2s and 3s. Keep the 3-pointers coming for Maxey. For Golden State, you've already got a brilliant squad. You've got to just keep on that pressure. I'm going to go with Golden State on this one. I think Dallas may have their year at some point in the future, but I think this year could be Golden State Warriors' time. So, going off of that, I think this already produced a potentially great final. Boston Celtics versus Golden State Warriors is my predicted NBA final. Who do I think? And before I say that, I've got to say, I think in terms of the series tie for the Dallas Golden State one, I said it was 4-3 for Boston for me, for the other one. For this one, I'm going to go 4-2 to Golden State. I think Golden State will snatch it before Game 7. So, the NBA Final, my predicted NBA Final, Golden State Warriors and Boston Celtics. What do I think is going to go down? Now, think of what I just said with both finals and each team individually. You've got Golden State, who are a very pressing team, very offensive team. They've got some great all-star players. Boston Celtics, one of the best defensive NBA teams this season. A great squad. You get Marcus Smart fit for the final. You've got a three-pointer ready, waiting to close down for Golden State. So, over 7 games, and I think this will go to Game 7. I think whoever it is in the final, I think it will go down to Game 7, mark my words. I'm going to go for a 4-3 win in the series I'm going to go for the Celtics, you know. I'm going to go for the Celtics. I think Golden State might win it next year, but I think there's just something about the Boston Celtics that's just gnawing away at me that says they're going to do it. So, my prediction is the Boston Celtics overall. What do you think? Who should be, in your opinion, the NBA champion and the right and generous conference champions? Who should be the East Conference champions? Who should be the West Conference champions? And who should be overall NBA champion? Now, before we get to the end of this video, I do want to thank you once again for watching this video. It really does mean a lot. Like I said, I'm going into more basketball content. Shout out to Run It Back Philly. Thank you so much for allowing me to call in and be on your live show today. Speaking about the Sixers, about Joel Embiid, putting on another shirt potentially. So it was great speaking about all that. But for now, I am the CHALL. That is full time.